We're starting with breaking news. Just about 45 minutes ago, Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays announced charges against Arizona's so-called fake electors, including state lawmakers and the former head of the state Republican Party. Thanks for joining us for 12 News at 5. I'm Mark Curtis alongside Bram Resnick. Bram, slightly busy day here. You've been covering this story for a long time, and we've come a long way since the weeks after the 2020 election, when we saw tweets from Kelly Ward, the then head of the Arizona Republican Party, saying, "Oh, yes, we did. We are the electors who represent the legal voters of Arizona."
And so just to recap how we got here, that day you had 11 Trump electors signing a document that said they were the actual electors chosen by voters of Arizona, whose names would be sent to Washington, D.C. when Mike Pence read the electoral votes and declared a winner in the election. All 11 of them you see in that picture, they have all been indicted by Attorney General Chris Mays. All 11, there are two lawmakers among them, Jake Hoffman and Anthony Kern. They each face 9 felony charges ranging in degree of severity. These are serious charges that could result in jail time if proved in court. In addition, I think we're going to get to that in a bit, but she also charged are several Trump campaign officials. I want to back up and let folks know, early on, the Mays team said, look, we are only going to charge if we are certain we can get a conviction. Yep. They're pretty certain of this, and there's that from the document. Unindicted co-conspirator number 1, a former president of the United States who spread false claims of election fraud following the 2020 election. That, of course, is former President Donald Trump. So they went all the way to the top. I reviewed pages and pages of emails, documents that have already been assembled from other investigations. And just reading those, you would think, wow, they've got a pretty good case here. But 18 indictments, 9 felonies, at least for the 11 electors apiece. That's quite a case. And the bottom line for voters is the attempt here was to overturn Joe Biden's victory in battleground states, including Arizona, which would have resulted here in Arizona and in all 7 battleground states, that would have resulted in millions of voters being disenfranchised.
And Arizona is the 4th state to go after these so-called fake electors, right?
Yes, there were 7 states in all. Wisconsin settled a civil suit. 2 states weren't going, in 2 states, the electors couldn't be charged because they didn't represent it as an authentic document. It was a conditional document. But in those 4 states, it was represented as the real certificate signed by the electors, including Arizona, and we are the last state.
And I ask you that to set up this question. There's a big difference between an indictment and a conviction. I know Chris Mays believes she now has the bullets for her gun. Take us through what could happen next.
What could happen next is a long road. We've never seen, I feel safe in saying we've never seen an investigation like this or charges like this stemming from one case. And so I can't guess at that. I think I'm safe in saying it's going to take a while for this to play out, likely well past the election. I want to pause for a moment because when Chris Mays' office sent out the indictment, she also sent along a video she recorded. Let's take a listen.
I will not allow American democracy to be undermined. It's too important. The investigators and attorneys assigned to this case took the necessary time to thoroughly piece together the details of the events that began nearly 4 years ago. They followed the facts where they led, and I'm very proud of the work they've done to date. We're here because justice demands an answer to the efforts that the defendants and other unindicted co-conspirators allegedly took to undermine the will of Arizona's voters during the 2020 presidential election. Arizona's election was free and fair. The people of Arizona elected President Biden. Unwilling to accept this fact, the defendants charged by the state grand jury allegedly schemed to prevent the lawful transfer of the presidency.
And you also spoke to Katie Hobbs just a few minutes ago. Let's hear what she had to say.
Since the 2020 election, when I was Secretary of State, I have continued to say that anyone involved with election interference, with trying to overturn the will of the voters, should be held accountable. This is one more step in that, and I'm glad to see it.
And one of the questions Chris Mays got a lot was, what's taking so long? This investigation started a year ago. Mays has pointed out she only took office in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, and her predecessor, Republican Mark Brnovich, hadn't done anything during the end of his term when he was running for the U.S. Senate. So took her a year. This is where we are. Still a long way to go, it would seem.
Arizona once again in the national spotlight. All right, let's continue our coverage with 12 News journalist Joe Dana at the Capitol, getting reactions to this as soon as the indictments were announced. Joe?
This investigation here at the Capitol, as you had two sitting legislators under investigation. They were two of the so-called 11 fake electors, Jake Hoffman of Queen Creek, Anthony Kern of Glendale, the two senators. They have not responded yet to these indictments. I did, though, talk to them just about 2 weeks ago about the fact that they had not accepted the results of the 2020 election, despite more than 10,000 hours of an investigation by the former Republican Attorney General Mark Brnovich. Here's a little bit of what they had to say.
You know, the lie of the left is it's a media narrative that, you know, if you question an election, that now you're some kind of denier.
Tens of thousands of voters were directly disenfranchised. It should not be certified by Doug Ducey.
Again, we're waiting for Kern and Hoffman to provide us a response to sitting state legislators now under indictment. I can also tell you former Arizona Congressman Matt Salmon, a longtime Republican from the East Valley who served the East Valley as a congressman, he did tell me just a few minutes ago regarding this. He has been critical of the so-called. He said, quote, "As I've said before, I always felt it was a slippery slope for them to submit alternate electors." He went on to say, "I've known Chris Mays since she was a Republican, and I never found her to be overtly political. Beyond that, I would just see more details of the indictments before I comment further." So there you have one longtime, again, Republican learning about some current Republican colleagues of his under indictment. For now, we'll send it back to you.
And I do want to point out one more of the names we haven't mentioned, but among the 11 electors was Kelly Ward, the then chairwoman of the Arizona Republican Party, as well as her husband, Michael Ward. So again, sweeping indictment. Chris Mays saying she's now protecting voters in Arizona with this.
And just the beginning of what could be a long, protracted series of cases in court.
Or plea deals.
Or plea deals.
This gets very expensive for the defendant.
And who pays those bills? Another question left to be answered. Bram, great coverage. Thank you.